Hi, welcome to Lies and Secrets channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. It all started on a quiet Sunday afternoon. The house was unusually still. The kind of stillness that makes you feel like something unexpected is about to happen. My daughter Sophia had just come back from her best friend's house, clutching her favorite sketchbook and bubbling with stories about her day. Our golden retriever Liam wagged his tail excitedly as he greeted her at the door. I was in the living room finishing up a small project I had been working on. Liam had always been more than just a pet to our family. He was like a second child, full of energy and charm, always eager to be involved in whatever we were doing that afternoon. As Sophia went upstairs to put her things away, Liam trotted over to me with his favorite toy in his mouth, his big brown eyes practically begging for some playtime. What happened next is something I never thought I'd have to explain. Just as I leaned forward trying to figure out what Liam wanted, Sophia came back down the stairs. Her eyes widened as she stopped mid-step, her gaze darting between me and Liam. I froze, unsure of what to say because what she thought she saw wasn't even close to what was actually happening. She dropped her sketchbook, the sound breaking the heavy silence in the room. "Mom, what are you doing?" she asked, her voice shaky and filled with confusion. I opened my mouth to respond, but the words wouldn't come out. How could I explain what she had just walked into without making it sound worse than it was? The look on her face told me that whatever I said next had to be the truth, but would she believe me? I stood there, still frozen my mind. Racing to find the right words, Sophia's question hung in the air, making the room feel smaller and heavier. Liam, sensing the tension, sat down next to me, his tail wagging slowly as if trying to diffuse the situation. But Sophia's expression didn't soften. If anything, her confusion deepened. "Sophia," I finally managed, my voice cracking slightly. "It's not what you think." Her eyebrows shot up and I could see her trying to make sense of what she had walked in on. I knelt down next to Liam and held up the toy he had dropped at my feet. It was an old chew toy, one of his favorites, but it had a small tear in it and the stuffing was spilling out. Liam tore this and I was just checking to see if I could fix it. That's all. But Sophia didn't seem convinced. She crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing as she studied me. "Then why did you look so weird?" "When I came downstairs," she asked. "You looked guilty." Her words stung not because she was wrong, but because she had every reason to think that I had panicked and now it was making everything seem worse. "I guess I was startled," I said, trying to keep my tone calm. "You came down so quietly and I wasn't expecting anyone to see me fiddling with this old thing." Sophia looked at Liam, then back at me. She still wasn't buying it. "Mom, you're acting strange. Is there something? You're not telling me?" I swallowed hard. This wasn't about the toy anymore. I could see that Sophia had always been sharp, picking up on the smallest details and asking questions until she got to the bottom of things. It was one of the things I admired most about her, but in this moment it felt like she was peeling back layers. I wasn't ready to reveal. "Sophia," I said softly, "there's nothing going on. I promise I just didn't want Liam to accidentally swallow the stuffing for a moment." She seemed to consider this. Her arms relaxed and she bent down to pick up her sketchbook. But as she turned to head back upstairs, she paused. "If you say so," she said, her tone neutral but her expression skeptical, "but you'd tell me if something was wrong." "Right, of course," I said, quickly forcing a smile. "You know you can always ask me anything." She nodded slowly and disappeared up the stairs. I let out a shaky breath and slumped back onto the couch, my heart still pounding. Liam nudged my hand with his nose, looking up at me with his usual trusting gaze. "You really know how to stir up drama, don't you?" I murmured, scratching behind his ears, but as much as I tried to convince myself that everything was fine, I couldn't shake the feeling that Sophia wasn't done asking questions, and if she kept digging, she might uncover something I wasn't ready to face, not just with Liam but with myself. That evening, the house felt unusually quiet. Sophia stayed in her room longer than usual, and even though I tried to tell myself she was probably just working on her drawings, a small part of me wondered if she was upstairs replaying what she saw earlier. Liam lay sprawled on the floor near my feet, his steady breathing the only sound breaking the silence. I couldn't shake the unease that had settled over me. Sophia's question, "Is there something you're not telling me?" kept playing in my head. It wasn't just about the torn toy or the awkward moment she had walked into. It was about something deeper, something I hadn't fully acknowledged myself. Later I called Sophia down for dinner, hoping to ease the tension and distract her with a bit of normalcy. She came down with her sketchbook tucked under her arm, her face calm but guarded. As we ate, I tried to engage her in light conversation. "So how's the new art project coming along?" I asked, nodding toward her sketchbook. "It's fine," she said. Her tone clipped. She picked at her food for a moment, then glanced at me. "You've been acting weird lately, Mom, not just today." "I've noticed it for a while now." Her words caught me off guard and I nearly dropped my fork. "What do you mean?" "Weird?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I don't know, you just seem distracted," she said, watching me closely like your mind is somewhere else. And then today with Liam, it was just strange. I opened my mouth to respond but realized I didn't have a good answer. She wasn't wrong. For weeks, I had felt a growing sense of restlessness, a nagging feeling that something in my life wasn't quite right. But how could I explain that to Sophia without worrying her? "Maybe I've just been tired," I said, finally forcing a small smile. "Work's been a lot lately, and I guess it's been catching up with me." Sophia didn't look convinced, but she didn't push further. Instead, she changed the subject, telling me about her friend's new puppy and how they were trying to train it. I listened and nodded at all the right moments, but my thoughts were elsewhere. That night, after Sophia went to bed, I found myself sitting on the couch, staring at Liam. He was curled up in his favorite spot, his fur rising and falling with each breath. I thought about how he had been a part of our family for years through so many ups and downs, but now his presence seemed to represent something else, a connection to a part of me I hadn't fully explored. The feeling of restlessness crept back in stronger than before. I glanced toward the staircase, wondering if Sophia was really asleep or if she was lying awake, still questioning what she thought she saw earlier. And as much as I wanted to leave it all behind, I couldn't help but feel that the answers Sophia was searching for were the same ones I needed to find for myself. The next morning, the air in the house felt thick with unspoken tension. Sophia barely said a word during breakfast, her eyes flickering between me and Liam as if she were piecing together a puzzle. Only she could see. I tried to act normal, smiling and asking about her plans for the day, but she gave short answers, her focus elsewhere. As she headed out the door for school, she paused, her hand lingering on the doorknob. "You're sure you're okay, right?" she asked, her voice quieter than usual. I hesitated, caught off guard by the softness in her tone. "Course, sweetheart, don't worry about me," I said, giving her a reassuring smile. But even as the words left my mouth, they felt hollow. Once she was gone, the house seemed even quieter. Liam followed me into the living room, his tail wagging as if trying to lift my mood. I sat on the couch, absent-minded, petting him. As my mind wandered, the restlessness that had been simmering inside me was now boiling over, and I knew I couldn't keep ignoring it. I glanced at the torn toy still lying on the floor, its jagged edges somehow symbolic of the frayed emotions I had been hiding. Liam nudged it toward me, his eyes full of trust. And for a moment I felt an overwhelming wave of guilt. Not because of anything I'd done, but because I hadn't been honest, not with Sophia, not with myself. The sound of the front door opening jolted me from my thoughts. Sophia shouldn't have been home this early. I turned startled and saw her standing there, her face pale. She was holding something in her hand, something she must have found in my room. "Mom," she said, her voice trembling. "What is this?" I froze as Sophia stood there, her hand trembling slightly as she held up an old photograph. My heart sank when I realized what it was, a picture of me with Liam taken years ago when we first brought him home. But it wasn't just the photo itself that made my breath catch tucked behind. It was a small, folded piece of paper. I hadn't seen it in years, and I certainly hadn't expected Sophia to stumble upon it. "Where did you find that?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. Sophia stepped further into the room, her expression a mix of confusion and hurt. It was in your drawer. I wasn't snooping, she said quickly. But I was looking for tape for my art project. This just fell out. She unfolded the paper, her eyes scanning the words. What is this about? I knew exactly what she was reading. It was a note I had written to myself long ago, back when things in my life felt like they were spiraling out of control. The words were raw, full of emotions I hadn't been able to voice at the time, regrets, doubts, fears. They were all there, laid bare on that piece of paper. And now Sophia was holding it, trying to make sense of something I hadn't even fully come to terms with. It's complicated, I said, finally reaching for the paper, but Sophia pulled it back. You wrote that you felt like you were losing yourself. She said, her voice shaking, that you didn't know how to fix things. What were you talking about? Is this about Liam, about me? I shook my head, but the words wouldn't come out. How could I explain something? I barely understood myself. Truth was, Liam had been more than just a dog during that time. He had been my lifeline, the one constant when everything else felt like it was falling apart. But that wasn't something I had ever shared with Sophia. To her, Liam was just a happy, playful dog who loved everyone unconditionally. She didn't know the weight he had carried for me. Sophia, it's not what you think, I said finally, my voice softer now. That note, it's from a long time ago. I was going through a rough patch, and writing things down helped me sort through my feelings. It doesn't mean anything about you or Liam. It was just me trying to figure things out. She looked at me, her eyes filled with tears. Why didn't you ever tell me? I'm not a little kid anymore. Mom, I can handle it. Before I could answer, Liam, sensing the tension, let out a soft whine and nudged Sophia's hand. She glanced down at him, then back at me, her expression softening but still uncertain. I just want to understand, she said quietly. But before I could say more, there was a knock at the door. It was firm, urgent, and completely unexpected. Both of us turned toward the sound, and for a moment neither of us moved. Who could that be? Sophia whispered. I had no idea, but as I stood to answer it, a new wave of unease washed over me. Somehow I knew this wasn't just a random visitor. Whoever was on the other side of that door was about to change everything. The knock came again, louder, this time jolting me out of my thoughts. I hesitated for a second before walking to the door, my mind racing. Sophia stayed close behind, clutching the photograph and the note as if they were shields against whatever was about to happen. When I opened the door, I was stunned to see a man standing there. He looked vaguely familiar, mid-frisk, neatly dressed, holding a folder in one hand and a cautious expression on his face. Can I help you? I asked, my voice steady, despite the swirl of emotions inside me. I'm sorry to bother you. The man said, his tone polite but urgent. I'm from the local animal shelter. My name's Tom. I've been trying to track down some records and, well, they led me here. It's about Liam. Sophia and I exchanged a look, her confusion mirroring my own. Liam? I repeated, what do you mean? Tom glanced down at Liam, who was now standing alert by my side, his tail wagging slightly as if greeting an old friend. Liam used to be part of a special rescue program. Tom explained he was trained to work with people who needed emotional support, but something happened with his last placement and we lost track of him until now. My heart raced. Liam had always been a comfort to me, but I never knew about his past. Are you saying he was a therapy dog? I asked, my voice filled with disbelief. Yes, Tom said. With a nod, and a very skilled one, the records show he was placed with someone struggling with severe anxiety after a major life event. That placement ended abruptly, and we thought we'd lost him. Seeing him here, it's clear he found a home, but I had to check, is everything okay with him? Sophia stepped forward, her grip on the photo tightening. Liam saved my mom, she said, her voice firm. He's part of our family. Why does it matter where he came from? Tom smiled gently. Doesn't, not really. I just wanted to make sure he was safe and loved, and it's clear that he is. He handed me the folder. These are his old records. Maybe they'll help you understand him better. As Tom turned to leave, Sophia's curiosity got the better of her weight. She said, her tone sharp. Why did his last placement end with something wrong? Tom hesitated before answering the person he was with. They didn't think they needed him anymore, but dogs like Liam, they sense things, even when people won't admit they're struggling. When he left, I closed the door and looked at Liam. My mind spinning, everything suddenly clicked: the torn toy, the note, even Sophia's questions. Liam hadn't just been a dog. He'd been a healer, quietly taking care of me in ways I hadn't even realized. Sophia put her hand on Liam's head, her expression softening. I think he knew, Mom, she said quietly. He knew you needed him, even if you didn't. And just as I thought the weight of the mystery was finally lifting, I opened the folder and froze there. Tucked inside was another photograph, one I had never seen before. It was of Liam with someone else, someone I recognized, someone I thought I'd left behind a long time ago. Past wasn't done with me yet. I stared at the photograph, my hands trembling slightly. The image was of Liam sitting beside a woman I hadn't seen in years. Her face brought back a flood of memories, ones I had carefully tucked away, thinking I'd never have to confront them again. Sophia noticed my reaction immediately. Mom, who is she? She asked softly, her gaze flickering between me and the picture. I took a deep breath, sitting down on the couch with the folder in my lap. Her name is Sarah. I said finally. She was someone very close to me a long time ago, before you were born. Sophia sat beside me, waiting patiently for me to continue. I hadn't told her much about my life before I became her mom, and honestly I thought I never would. But sitting there with Liam by my side and the truth staring back at me, I realized it was time. Sarah and I were best friends. I began, we did everything together. She was like a sister to me. But after college, things changed. She went through some really tough times, loss, heartbreak, and we drifted apart. Liam must have been with her during those years. I had no idea. Sophia listened intently, her expression soft but curious. Do you think she gave Liam up because she didn't need him anymore? She asked. I shook my head. I don't think it was that simple. If I know Sarah, she probably thought she was helping him by letting him go. She always tried to do the right thing, even when it hurt her. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the discovery settling between us. Liam, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, rested his head on my knee, his warm presence grounding me. What will you do now? Sophia asked. After a while, will you try to find her? Question hung in the air, and I found myself looking at the photo again. Sarah had always been a part of my past that felt unresolved. But now with Liam here, it was as if she'd left a piece of herself behind. I think maybe I will, I said slowly, not to change anything, but to let her know that Liam is okay, that he's loved and taken care of. Sophia smiled, leaning her head against my shoulder. I think she'd like that. Over the next few days, I reached out to the shelter for more information. They couldn't provide much, but it was enough to start the search. In the meantime, life at home felt lighter, as if a burden I hadn't realized I was carrying had finally lifted. Sophia seemed more at ease too, her questions replaced by a newfound understanding of the unspoken bond between Liam and me. One evening, as we sat together in the living room, Sophia looked up from her sketchbook and said, Liam didn't just save you, Mom. I think he saved us both, and in that moment, surrounded by the warmth of family and the quiet presence of our golden retriever, I knew she was right. Some connections, no matter how unexpected, have a way of bringing us exactly what we need, even when we don't realize it. At the dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put like, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel.